from Creative Media Vault in Tokyo, Japan. And today I'm going to be working on my challenge for 2022, which is going to be like a one-day build. I say one-day build, meaning like I will have the base framework of the game that I'm working on done within 24 hours. But realistically, it's probably going to take about like 72 hours just to do the artwork and stuff like that. So now, the reason I started doing this is because I love game development and I like doing characters and I like creating like stories and worlds and stuff like that. But programming is actually one of my weak points. So as you can see, I'm more of an artist. So I really like handling this aspect. But when it comes to programming, one, I'm dyslexic, and two, I just don't really like programming so much. So I decided to kind of fix that this year in order to speed up my production process for games. So, what you're looking at right now are these are actually some characters that I've created for my current game project, which is CDULO The Outer Rim. So I'll take a quick look at that. So this is like the Steam page for that game that I've been working on. So this will be my first my first major commercial launch game. We're still working on the Steam page now, but it will be up for wishlist fairly soon. And if you're interested in this game or the other projects that I've been working on, then you can also check out my website, which is creativemv.com. And here you can find out more about the Kickstarter game, as well as check out some of the projects that I've already kind of completed, or projects that are in progress. So this is my Quest of the Gummy Witch game, which I've been working on. It was the game that I created with my kids as a summer project. But we've got quite a bit done on this one. And if you're interested in playing any of these games, you can not only find them on my website, but you can also find them on my itch.io page, which is right here. So just go to creativemediavault.itch.io, and you can check out the games that we're currently working on. And if you really, really like these games, and you like the characters, or any of the products, I do have this is the cup from my Fuwa's Gambit game. So if you're into any of the characters or the products and you would like to own some of them, then you can help support my game development by going to my nerdyurges.com online store, where you can find a lot of original character goods that I've created based on the game that you can play on itch.io. So, for this particular game that I'm going to be working on, I'm going to be starting with a new project in Unity, that I've kind of already set up. But I'll be using Unity 19.4 because I don't really like 20.3 because it doesn't work well with WebGL and I have a lot of issues with it. So, the type of game that I'm going to be working on is one that I haven't really designed yet. It's going to be a point and click to move type of game. So I know these are kind of standard, but most of the games that I create are actually 2D platformers. I have done some 3D stuff before, but I've never really done just a point to click and to move in games. So what it's going to be a simple game because I want to try to get it done as quickly as possible. So we're just going to have a player. We're going to have some enemies that are going to shoot at the player. We're going to have some pickup items that the player needs to grab, and some obstacles that can damage the player, and then a goal. I have not come up with a story for this game, which is actually kind of unusual for me because I usually start my game development with a story, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and start this one without really a story, and I'll develop as we go. So here we have a blank scene in Unity, and I have imported some graphics. I've imported some graphics that I had left over from my template design for my other game. So I've imported the circle, the square, the triangle, rectangle, and this game over thing, right? So those are already in the project. Um, and I just drug them in here. So I'm gonna start with the circle, and just gonna drag it in here, and that's much bigger than I thought, actually. But, I thought I shrunk it down, but it's still pretty big. So I'm gonna hit the R key to shrink this down to something suitable and visual. All right, and I'm gonna name this player. All right, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a script, and I'm going to call this one like um, add component, new script, click to move, click to move to. Right. Alright, so click to move to. And I'm gonna double click this to open it up in Visual Studio and see how quickly we can get this program. So I'm gonna be looking over here because I have like some notes from my previous game, but I suck at taking notes and organizing them, so that's something else I have to work on. So I'm gonna go ahead and create some variables, and anything that needs to move on the screen in Unity, you're gonna need a speed variable. So I'm gonna use a public float and speed. And I'm using a float because a float allows you to put like a .5 or a 0.5 or something. So it'll give you a little bit more control over speed and stuff than just integers. And this will be, I guess I should put some notes in here. So this will be speed of the character, or speed of the player. And then I will create a private, and this will be a vector 3. And this will be I'll name this one target. And this will be like for identifying which target needs to be moved. So identifying the move target. All right, and so those are two variables that I need right now. Next, I will go down to the start function, and I will need to kind of identify where the target is sitting on the screen. So I'll go to target dot transform dot position transform dot position. Right, so target, sorry, that's target equals transform dot position. There we go. And this keyboard is a lot smaller than my previous Mac, so I'm still having trouble like typing on it, and my fingers are cold. So I was gonna turn on the heater, but I want to save electricity, so I'm not cutting on right now. So anyway, like hold on. Oh, thank you. I keep on checking the screen over here because I'm checking my emails and stuff for my company stuff. So now we're going to be in the update function. So this will require an if statement to kind of dictate how we're going to move the player. So usually I use get key down, but since I'm going to be moving with the mouse this time, it's going to be I'll be using get mouse button down. So we'll be like if, and I'll go ahead and put my brackets here, and this will be input dot get mouse button down. And that's one thing I really like about Unity, the autofill, because I hate typing. So I'm going to be using the left click mouse button, so I'll be using 0. I just hit something funky down here. Alright, so there we go. So this will be if I click the left mouse button, then the player should move. Alright, and how are we going to give them a move? So we're going to go to target equals camera dot main. Now when I go back to my Unity project, you're going to notice that I only have one camera in here, right? So that's kind of the way that we want it at the moment. In my other project I have virtual cameras and stuff like that, but since this is going to be a simple game, I want to keep everything simple. So camera.main, meaning the only camera that I currently have in the screen, and then I will go to screen to world point, right? And I'm not exactly sure how to explain that, but basically it gives the screen the whole access to the whole world that you see on the screen, I guess. I'll figure out how to explain that better later. All right, and I'll put my parenthesis here, and this will be input dot and we're going to put this with the mouse position. So we want the screen to kind of track the mouse position. And put this after here. All right, and then now this is a 2D game, but if you'll notice up here, I typed in vector 3. Well, really, like 2D is like X, Y, Z. So this would be like X, this would be Y, and Z would be like kind of, if you're looking at your screen, it would be like more distance, a depth perception, right? But for a 2D game, I'm not really going to be using that for this type of movement. So I'm going to put target.z equals transform.position.z. And we're basically just going to leave this Z position alone. We don't really want to touch it that much. All right, and I'll come down here, and next I'll type in transform.position equals vector 3 again. And this is what's cool about Unity. I can just it has all of these parameters that are kind of already embedded in this vector 3. So I'm going to move towards, and that's going to basically just tell this way, wherever this dude clicks on the screen, you need to move your happy ass over there, right? All right, so, and that's going to be moved towards, but I still have to tell it what to move towards, right? So I'm going to put my transform dot, I spelled transform again, form dot position, and then this is where I'm going to set the target, tell what the transform, tell tell the mouse which target I wanted to move to. So this will be target. It could be player if I wanted it to actually move towards the player, like if it was an enemy or something. And then I'll type in speed, and then I will use time dot delta time. All right, and what this time.delta time actually does is this game should be able to be played on different types of computers. So it basically tells it basically doesn't give an advantage to people who have faster computers. So the speed that this character moves should be the same on each computer, regardless of whether you have like a Pentium whatever or an M1 chip or Intel whatever, right? So it should be the same for everyone across the board, theoretically speaking. All right, so now we'll go back into Unity and see if I screwed anything up with the code. Okay, so now I have the script attached to the player. Now, if I click play, you'll notice that nothing's going to happen, right? So click play here. Right, so right now I can click anywhere and it's not going to do anything. That's because with this script I have not really assigned move speed. So now when I click over here, I've got a move speed of 5. So I didn't hard code the speed on purpose because I want to be able to change in the script. So I'll give this player a default move speed of 5. And that's basically it for the player. So now what we need to do is we need to, this player is kind of in a little boring space. He's feeling all lonely and stuff by himself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add him a partner. Yay. Dump this huge ass square in here. And I'm going to shrink this down. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, I guess. Yeah. All right. And what I'm going to do with this square is I'm going to go ahead and name this guy enemy. So I'm going to name him enemy, and this enemy is going to chase the player around the screen. So in order to get him to do that, though, I'll need to add a different script. So I will add a new script to this guy, and I'm going to add, make him enemy. I think I'll name him maybe shooting enemy. Yeah, I'll name him shooting enemy because we're since this is going to be a simple game, I'm going to try to make this enemy to where he can shoot where he has ranged attacks, but where he can also kind of attack the player by bumping into him, right? So I'm going to try to kill 2 birds in 1 stone. All right, so we've got our square here, which will be the enemy, and we have our circle, which is the player. All right, and one thing I should probably do with the player before I actually start working on the enemy script is I'll click on the player, and you'll notice that we have this thing called tag here. So I need to put something in this inspector that will actually identify the player as a player. Now I could change this player name to John, and really, Unity's not really going to care so much what this name is, to be honest. Unless, well, in certain cases it will, but it's not really such a major thing unless you're actually trying to use the player name of the game object, right? And that's when it's going to search. But if I click on this, I could still move the player even though I've just changed the name. right? So if I click on here, John is moving everywhere, right? So he just doesn't really care what his name is at the moment. But the script that, like when it comes to enemies and finding John on the screen, that could be a problem. So what I need to do is I need to add, I need to change this guy's name back from John because I just don't want him to be called John. So I'm going to name him Player again. And the thing that I really need to change in order to be able to identify him to other objects on the screen, like the enemy, is I need to add a tag to him. So I'm going to add the tag of player to this. In this way, in the script, it'll be easier for objects to find which object is the player, because I'm going to have thousands of objects in a game. So I need to be able to, regardless of what the player's name actually is, I need to have this tag here to identify him as the player for code. And likewise, for the enemy, I should probably do the same thing. So I'm going to go here, and I have an enemy tag already created. So I'm going to create that, or just assign that to him. All right, so we have a player, we have an enemy. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this shooting enemy script, because right now this enemy is just kind of chilling here, like doing absolutely nothing. So now, as I mentioned before, anything that is going to be moving on the screen in Unity is going to require at least a speed variable. So I'm going to go here and type in public float, and that will be speed. And this will be like an enemy speed. And let me go ahead and add a few more spaces. Now, with this particular enemy, I think I am going to make it to where he can kind of stop away from the player and shoot. So he'll be able to have different ranges of being able to attack the enemy, basically, or attack the player, basically. So he can run up on him and bump into him and do damage, or he can stay in the cut, far away from him and just take pot shots at him. So in order to do that, I'll need to have a stopping distance. So I will put public public float, and I'll put a stopping distance, and this will be the distance that the enemy stops from the player, but can still attack. So that'll be a stopping distance, and I could put a retreat distance, but I'll go ahead and create the float. So for some enemies, I might want them to run up on the player, but if the player starts getting too close to them, I might want them to actually retreat so that they can continue shooting at him. So I might as well go ahead and add that as well. So that'll be retreat distance. And that's the amount of space that the enemy retreats. I can't type for shit today. Retreats from the player. So if the player tries to run up on him, this guy's gonna back off a little bit and still continue to attack. Right, and why am I getting this thing right here? Okay, so I got my public speed, and then I also need a since this enemy will have ranged attack ability, he's going to need a timer, basically, to say how fast he can shoot whatever projectile he's going to be shooting. So I will put a public float, and that will be a time between shots. Right. And I'm also going to put a note on that. So that's how many seconds the player, or the enemy, how many seconds the enemy must wait to shoot again. All right, and then after that, I will also need a public float for start time. Public float for start time. So if you guys have any questions, just ask me. But I'm pretty sure some of you are a lot more advanced in this than I am. So, and I spelled how wrong, haha. All right, so this would be start time between shots, and this is going to be basically when the first shot can be fired from the enemy. So when the first shot can be fired. So I mean, I could have him like wait 20 seconds and just pop one off, and then like shoot every 4 seconds after that. But like using these public floats will allow me to basically kind of define the timing of each shot in the inspector in Unity. So now, let's see, I've got those. I need a game object as well. So I'm going to put in a public game object, and this will be for the projectile. Projectile. And this will be the projectile that the enemy will shoot at the player. All right, so those are basically all of the variables that I think I need for this at the moment. In the start function, for the start function, I'm going to need to use something that will identify what the player actually is. So maybe I will also need, I'll also need a transform. So this public transform will identify the position of whatever, of like the target or the player. So I'm going to look for the position of the player in the game so that when this enemy starts, well, heading towards the player or shooting at the player, he'll know where the player's at, basically. Right now, this guy is blind. He doesn't know where the player is at. So because he doesn't know the player's position, he can't move toward them. So I'm going to put in a transform for the player, and I'll put that there. All right, and now I'm going to be in the start function, and I need to identify the game object for the player. So I'm going to go player equals game object, and that will be a find. I'm going to use a find game object with tag. Now I want you to notice that there are two of these. One is find game objects with a like plural with tag, and the other one is find game object. You want to use this one. Like a couple games ago, I messed up and I was wondering why my code wasn't working, and that's because I used the one above and it was looking for multiple objects, I think. So I'm going to use game object with tag, and I'm going to identify the tag of the player. So remember that thing that we just did in Unity over here, where like I changed this guy's name to John, and then I changed the tag to player. Well, that's this is why, because I need to be able to call that tag or find that tag in the code. So I'm going to type this as player, and remember that this player is case sensitive, so it needs to be spelled exactly as the tag player, not the name, but the tag player. Right? So if you mess that up, then like it's not going to find anything. It's going to like, player, who are you talking about, right? And it'll be looking for like a lowercase when it should be uppercase, right? So I'm going to go player, and then I'll go to transform here. And this will help the enemy identify the location of the player. All right, and now that that is done, I'm going to go to the update script. And this update script is not going to be too difficult, but we're still going to need an if statement. So before we were using vector 3, but now we're going to be using vector 2. So if vector2 dot and distance, and this will be like I'm going to be typing transform dot position a lot, right? And I keep on spelling transform wrong. That's why. So vector2.distance equals transform.position. And this time, before we were using the target transform, because we were using the mouse click, right? And the mouse click location was the target. Now we want to kind of change this, because the enemy is not going to be controlled by a mouse or by keyboard. So the enemy is going to have to know where the player is. So we're going to be using player.position. And we're going to go ahead and put a stopping distance here. So I am going to go ahead and assign him a stopping distance, or give him the option to have a stopping distance, I guess. And actually, I don't need to block that out. So yeah, this should be okay. Why am I getting a equal stopping distance? Okay, yeah, that should work. Right. So if the distance from the player, basically equals equals the transform, then the stopping distance should kick in. All right. So now we're going to go here, and it's going to be like transform dot position. transform dot position equals, and we're going to use vector 2 again. Vector 2 dot, and we're going to use this move towards. I love this move towards because I don't have to type the whole damn thing. All right, and it's going to be like transform dot position, and then player dot position, and then we're going to add this speed, right? So that's the speed, float speed variable up here. So speed equals time dot delta time. Right, and again, it's like this is going to be the speed that's assigned to this enemy, but no matter which computer you are playing on, he should move at the same speed, even if your processor is much faster. Right, and don't forget to add that. All right, then next, oh, that's why I was getting that error. So I forgot to add my other bracket here. So, all right, now that's one thing that we can add, and I guess I'll go ahead and add this this retreat as well. So I'll put else if, and I love if then statements, so because I use them a lot because I suck at coding. So else if, and this will else if I just mess it up. Why? Else if, and then I'll add my brackets after this. All right, and this will be like a vector 2, so very similar to the previous code actually. Distance, and this will be like a transform dot position, and this will be also player dot position, and this will be and so this will be like greater than stopping distance. Right, and we're going to add and vector 2 is distance in transform dot position, and from here I think it's going to be like a player dot player. I'm going to use player dot, yeah, player dot position, I think. Position. Stopping player dot position. And that should be, I spelled vector 2 wrong. Transform dot position, player dot position. Okay, missing something here. Actually, I'm not really sure if I want him to retreat though. Player dot position. Actually, I think I will leave this one out for right now. The reason is I want to make sure that the other transform dot position works correctly. All right. So player dot position. That will be. Let me check my notes. Yeah, I'm not really sure if I want this retreat distance. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave the retreat distance off for the moment, just for right now. And hold on. I'm getting kind of messed up with my notes here. Give me 1 second. Transform as position. Equals time dot delta time. Why am I getting this extra? Oh, I know why. Because I should not have commented this one out. Alright. Alright, so let's see what this does. Transform the position. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and work with this because I'm not sure if I want him to retreat at the moment. So I'll go ahead and add this add the shooting mechanism. So we'll go like time between shots. If that is going to equal to 0, greater than equal to 0, we're going to add this here. And this will be an instantiate. So instantiate means that it's going to add an object or add something to the screen. Basically, it's going to like visually like create something like for you to view. So we'll put like a projectile, and because we want it to instantiate a projectile, and we want it to instantiate it at transform form dot position, so which will be basically the enemy's current position. So transform dot position, and we're going to use this quaternion. And I hate these things because I don't know what they mean. But quaternion dot identity. Right, and also we're going to set time between shots. Time between shots will be equal to start time between shots. All right, and as usual, basically anything that's going to be moving across the screen, which interesting enough, we're just instantiating this projectile at the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be doing anything when we hit play, and I'll explain why that's happening later. All right, so we're going to have like this, and then we're going to add an else. All right, so this will be time between shots is less than to time dot delta time. All right, and let's see if this code works. Hold on, let me check my work mail very quickly. While I switch over to Unity. Okay. Yeah, hold on. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click play. Oh, actually, when I click play, that's not going to do anything because I forgot to actually type in the speed for for the character. Or for the enemy, sorry. All right, yeah. So now the enemy's just kind of chilling here with like nothing to do. So, he doesn't have anything. So we're gonna put like I'll give him a speed of 2. Stopping distance, we didn't really put that in. Well, I'll give him a stopping distance of 3. A retreat distance, I'm not going to worry about. Time between shots will be 1. And start time between shots, actually, time that will be too fast. So start time between shots will also be 4. Projectile. Now, he doesn't have a projectile. But what he does have is an enemy, is a player area. So, in order for this, enemy to know who the player is, I'm just gonna drag this player into this area right here. All right, and that will like help him identify what his player. And now we need to make a projectile for him. So, for a projectile, I'm just going to add this like simple circle to the screen, and I'm going to I guess I could shrink this down to 0.25 or something like that. Actually, that's still too damn big. I'll shrink this down to 0.05. Yeah, just for now. And then I'll just copy this value over. Okay, and that'll be his projectile. And you notice I have like way too much white on the screen, so like I think I'm gonna give these guys some color. So his projectile will be maybe like the standard like reddish kind of color, right? So this will be a projectile, and now, so I'll name this like projectile 2. All right. So what I'm going to do with this is, right now we have this nice little projectile, but it's not really doing anything. So when I hit the play button, you'll see that absolutely nothing's really going to happen with the projectile because he's just kind of sitting there chilling and he doesn't have a script. But you do notice that the enemy has started to move toward the player and he's stopping at a certain distance. So if I click on this and I change the stopping distance to 0, he's just going to like wind up right on top of the player, which is something that will actually change in a little bit anyway because we're going to need to add some rigid bodies and stuff like that. But for the projectile, it's not really doing anything. So I'm going to take this projectile and I'm going to drag it into a folder called prefabs. And as soon as I do that, you'll notice that this projectile has a blue box. Well, the purpose of that blue box is to show you that this is a reusable object that you can use anytime that you want. So instead of having, like, in case I want this enemy to shoot this player like 150 times, if I didn't create a prefab, I would actually have to put 150 projectiles on the screen, and that's going to cause a lot of memory issues. But by turning it into a prefab, that means that I can keep on reusing the same asset, and that will save me a lot of memory. All right, so I have this projectile, and I have it saved as a prefab. Now, what I'm going to do, and this is going to be counterintuitive because you would think you would still want this on the screen, but you don't. So I'm going to delete this projectile in the hierarchy, not the one in the prefab. I'm going to delete it up here. And the reason I'm going to delete it from up here is because we don't need it. And also, with the enemy, I'm going to drag this projectile right here, right? And this tells the enemy which projectile it can shoot. All right, so now let's hit play again. Yeah, I decided maybe not to do the retreat distance with him right now. All right, so he's going to move. He's going to move. He's going to move. And then, oh, he just instantiated. Yay. So he just instantiated a projectile. Yay. All right, so he's just basically, the enemy is now having babies. And they look like Japanese food. All right, so that's how you can get your enemy to start shooting at your player. But if you'll notice, my projectiles didn't really do that much. I mean, they were on the screen, but they didn't actually move towards the player at all. So what I need to do is I need to create a movement for this projectile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if you ever have trouble kind of finding like an object or finding a prefab, you can actually just click on it. You can find it down here in the project, or if it's attached to an enemy or a player, you can just click it here and it'll highlight it in the project. So I'm going to click this projectile original, the original version, and I'm going to have to add a script to this. So I'm going to add a new script. And I'm going to name this enemy projectile 2. So now you might be wondering why I'm naming all of my scripts 2. That's because this is for a tutorial, and if I screw something up, I'm probably not going to use these scripts anyway. So, or I might already have a script in here that's named something similar. So like this 2 lets me know that it's just kind of a disposable script. I could put temp instead, but temp just sounds kind of bad. So now I've created an enemy projectile script. So I'm going to double click on this. And as usual, the first rule of thumb is anything that moves in Unity is going to need a speed. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a public float. And this will be speed. Right, and also for this, what does the projectile need? It needs speed, it needs damage, and it might need lifetime to kind of disappear, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create these. So I'll do speed, and then I'll do a public float for damage. And this will be how much damage this bullet or this projectile or whatever it is can actually do to the character. So damage this projectile does to the character. All right. Movement speed, and like I said, I'm not hard coding any of these speeds because I want to be able to change them on the fly. Lifetime. So this one I'll probably put in the code later, but like I don't want my I might want my projectile to be able to last a little bit longer on the screen as it flies towards the character. So I might not want it to like want all of them to disappear at the same time, or I might want to give it a little bit of an extra leeway. So that's why I'm going to add a lifetime variable. All right. Then what else am I going to need? I'm going to need a game object to identify the player. So this will be a private, private game object. And the reason why it's going to be a private is because I'm not really going to change this in the inspector. Am I? Yeah, I'll come back to that later, but I'll add it anyway. So this will be a private, and this will be a transform. And I'm going to name this player transform, player trans, yeah. All right, and this will be, of course, help us to get the location of the player. So find the location of the player on the screen. All right, and we're also going to need a vector2 target. So private vector2, and this will be like the target that the projectile is going to be flying towards. And I think lastly, I'm going to need a public game object. And we're going to add like we're going to add some kind of effect to this projectile when it hits the player or when it's destroyed. So I'm going to go ahead and add a destroy effect as well. So the effect of the destroyed projectile after hitting something, or it could be after hitting something, or like even if it doesn't hit anything, I might want it to go ahead and destroy it anyway. All right, so those are our variables, and let's see, what do we have in the start? So first we need to kind of like define this player transform. So we need to like of course define the location of the player so that the projectile knows where to go. So these type of projectiles will actually be like kind of auto tracking where the player is initially standing, right? So they're not going to follow the player around the screen, but when they're initially shot, they are going to shoot towards the current position of the player. So that way, if the player moves, then it's going to be the projectile is going to hit his previous position, or at least aim towards his previous position, instead of like heat-seeking him. Right. So in order to do that, first we have to like identify the player location. So that'll be player transform, and that will be game object, and that will be find object with tag. Remember, object with tag, not objects with tag. And this will be the tag player. Okay, and of course take the spelling, and that will be transform. All right, and also we'll need to add a new target. So this will be like a target will equal to a new vector2. So new vector2, not vector3, and this will be player dot. This will be actually player trans. Player. Yeah, if you ever like are typing something and it doesn't like work out the way that you plan, just backspace and like hit the just clear it and hit the delete key and like try typing it again to where it autofills. And that's how I remember a lot of shit. All right, so so that'll be player trans dot position, and then I'll need a player trans dot position. Now, you're asking why I have like two player trans dot positions. Well, the first one, we need to get the position for the x and y axis. So the first one will be player trans dot position dot x, right? And that will tell the projectile, go towards the x position of where the player is standing. However, if the player is standing over here, and the x position, and I haven't defined the y position, then the projectile is going to shoot in the initial direction, but it's just going to go right past him on the x-axis because it doesn't have any reference to the y. So that's where we're going to do like player trans dot position dot x, and then we're going to need to add the y so that it can find, kind of latitude and longitude of where the player is actually located. All right. Hope that made sense. All right, and then I think that's going to be good for right now. We'll test this out later. Now we're going to go down to the update function, and we're going to add a transform. Transform. I keep on missing my s. Transform dot position, and this will be a vector2 and dot my favorite move towards, and this will be transform dot position, and then target. Right. So this target will also need a speed, and we're going to put time dot delta time here, and I think I've explained that one enough. Now we're going to need an if statement. So why are you giving me a find object? No. No, no, no. All right. So if. Okay. All right, so in this if statement, we're going to need to kind of, set the transform.position.x to the target.position.x. So this will be transform.position.x. And I have to admit that Unity is actually pretty user-friendly to to people with dyslexia. X. And that's going to be now I'm going to use double equal signs here because I want it to equal the target dot x. So if transform.position.x equals target.position.x, and let's see, transform.position, damn it, position dot y equals, you guessed it, target dot position dot y. Okay, yeah, that didn't work. Target dot position, sorry, target dot position not y. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So if that equals that, then basically I'm going to need to destroy projectile. But I haven't actually created a destroy projectile script yet. So destroy projectile. So the reason why this is like giving me an error is because I haven't actually created that function down here, but I'm trying to call it anyway. So I mean that guessing means I have to go down here and I need to add this. All right, so yeah, I'll go ahead and add my destroy projectile function. So destroy projectile, and that's gonna be all right, so this will be very simple. In order to destroy something, I wanted to destroy the current, hold on, mail just came in. Okay, not important. Okay, every mail is important, but this one I can kind of hold off on. So in order to destroy this projectile, I'm just going to call a destroy function, right? So I'm going to put like destroy, and I'm going to put destroy game object, and that means basically it's going to destroy the current game object, right? All right, and let's see. I think, yeah, that's good enough. I'm going to test this script. So I'll save it and go back into Unity. My hands are getting cold. All right, so in our game we've got like a player. We've got with the player script, we have an enemy with our enemy script, and we have a projectile, which we can click on here, and we'll need to go to before our projectile actually does anything. Like I'll need to assign a speed to it. So I'll assign a speed of maybe, I don't know, 4 to this. And I'll need to assign some damage later, but right now we'll get back to that one later, and we'll also get back to lifetime later. Destroy effect. Well, we don't really have an effect yet. I haven't created an effect yet. So, I mean, I've created effects up here, but I haven't actually created one for this. So, for destroy effect, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a particle system. All right. So to create a particle system, I can just go up here and I can go to effects, particle system. All right. And I'm just going to kind of play around with this. I'll change the duration of this to 1. I'll change it. I'll keep it from looping because I don't really want it to loop all the time. So that loop just means that it's going to keep on replaying. Start lifetime, start speed. Start lifetime will be 1. Start speed. I guess I can. This looks kind of sorry. That's too much. I'll leave this at 5 just for fun. Right. Color. I think we're going to change the color of this. So we kind of change the color of our projectile to red. So I'll change this to red. Actually, now I'll change this to yellow. Or this color. Whatever this color is. Yeah, we'll go with this color right now. And what else do we need? Now the cool thing about particle effects in Unity is you can actually add gravity. So if I added gravity to this, it would kind of like spill down like that, which would be cool if this was a 2D platformer. But since we're making kind of like more of a top-down style of game, we're not going to necessarily need the gravity here. Play on awake, so that means that when it's called, it's going to start playing. And I think that's basically emissions. With the emissions, I can actually leave it like this, or I could maybe even change the count a little bit. So random between 2 constants. So if this ever happened, then you can't really see these numbers right here. You can just kind of drag your screen over. So I'll put this one at 30 and leave this at 50. And that'll give me like a range between 30 and 50 for these things to do whatever they're doing. All right. Then the next thing I think I'm going to change is the shape. So if you'll notice right here, we've kind of got like a cone shape for these particles. Well, I don't want them to be a cone. I might want them to be a circle instead. Boom. So I could change it to circle, or I could even change it to like edge. And if you notice, we're not really seeing too much here. I could change it to sphere like this. So this is more like a firework effect. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. So I might leave it as a sphere, or a donut. Yeah. So now the reason why this donut looks kind of weird is because I haven't really changed the rotation on it. So I could change the rotation here, and it'll do this kind of thing. So I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can kind of do with the shape. So if I wanted it to be a circle, boom, it's just gonna go like that. Still looks like more like a firework effect. So in this case, I kind of think I'm gonna leave it as a sphere. No, I'm not going to leave it as a sphere. I'm going to leave it as a circle and then call it a day. And I think I am going to change that ugly color to something a little bit more. But I'm going to have blood effect in here too, so yeah, I'm going to have some blood and some splatter in this, so I'll leave it this color for now, right? And that'll be the particle system. So I'm going to change this to, I guess, what am I going to change this to? I'm going to change this to projectile particle 1. Yeah, so I'll change that to projectile particle 1, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it into my prefabs into the effects folder. And yeah, that gives me a nice little particle to play with. All right, and so I can click on this, and this is kind of big, so I might want to reduce the size. So I'll click on this and kind of shrink it down here. I mean, you can do this in the particles as well, but I'm going to shrink it down here for now. And anytime I make changes, like right now, this prefab and this this reference to the prefab up here are a little bit different. So I can make changes to this, but they won't necessarily be reflected on the actual base prefab template per se. So in order to get these changes to take effect, I'll need to go over here. So I'll need to click on this one, and I'll need to go over here to overrides, and then I can hit apply all, and that will change these properties in the original prefab as well. All right, so just so you know. All right, so here we've got our prefab. So I'm going to delete the one from the hierarchy, and I'm going to go down to my projectile. And if you'll notice, our projectile is asking for a destroy effect. Well, we're just going to take this projectile particle system and drop it in here. All right, so now when I hit play, okay, so when I hit play, the enemy should start shooting at my character. Yay! So he's shooting, and if you'll notice, the bullets are actually kind of following him. All right, so now let's play around with these a little bit. So I'm going to click on the projectile down here, and say I want the speed to be like something like 20. All right, so I'm just going to change this to 20 and see how fast this bullet comes out. Bam! He had no time to move. Right, so change this back to 4. And you'll notice that the destroy effect isn't working at the moment. So the reason that the destroy effect isn't working is because we haven't instantiated it, right? So we haven't actually like told the projectile script when to instantiate that explosion. All right. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to go to the enemy very quickly. And I think I'm going to increase his stopping distance to about maybe 6. So the cool thing about this enemy type is that we have enemies that can crash into the characters, or we have enemies that can shoot from a very long distance. If they're the obstacle or barrier in the way, or if the distance is too far, then I mean this guy's not even going to move. All right, and you'll notice that this projectile just keeps on going, keeps on going, keeps on going. All right, so that'll give a little bit more space to where a little bit more range, attacking range for the enemy. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to instantiate that explosion for the projectile. So I want you to click on the projectile here, and I want you to click the main projectile, the base projectile, and we're going to go back into the script, which should already be open over here. All right, so now we need to kind of destroy this projectile. So I do have this destroy effect, but we haven't really done anything with it. So in order to get this destroy effect to play, we're going to go down here. And right before we destroy the game object, we're going to do what's called an instantiate. So we used instantiate to actually instantiate the projectile anyway, right? And we're going to instantiate destroy effect. And we're going to instantiate this at the point where the projectile, at the end point of where the projectile has traveled to, so the previous player position. So transform dot position quaternion, and then we're going to put identity. And don't ask me what that means. I don't fucking know. But all right. But it's just kind of like the identity of the place, I think. And let's see if that works. All right, it is 3 something. So I've got to try to finish like most of the game before my kids come home because we need to get ready for dinner and stuff like that. So. Checking my notes, anything up here? All right, so yep, got all of that. All right, so let's see if our projectile actually explodes now. If it does, it'll be cool. All right, yeah, so we have an explosion that just keeps on playing. Yep. So, the reason that this keeps on playing is because I think I have it on a loop, right? And that doesn't necessarily look bad, but that's not exactly what we want. So, so we have like, and we haven't assigned any damage to this either. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this a damage of 1, just right now, just by default. And also we haven't assigned a lifetime. So now let's go back into our projectile script over here. And we have kind of destroyed this, but if you'll notice, like the projectile itself like disappeared, but we still have like a lot of explosions across the screen going on that we're not necessarily going to need. So what I'm going to do here is in the start function is I'm going to go ahead and call this destroy. Destroy projectile or destroy game object. Destroy, and then I'm going to put game object, and then here's where I'm going to use that lifetime, right? And so I might want this, I want the projectile to destroy itself after a certain amount of time being on the screen. So I don't want the projectile, like, if I don't do anything, then I think the projectile is going to keep just going. Hold on, mail right quick. All right, yeah, that's a pretty interesting mail. All right, so anyway, so we've got this destroy game object like lifetime, and let's see, what else do I need? Is there anything else? I've got my destroy projectile here. I'm checking my notes because, like I said, I'm still not a pro at this at the moment. So destroy, that's update, destroy projectile, all good. Destroy game object. Okay, yeah, we should be good. So now let's see what this does. Okay, so I'm gonna hit play, and I've got my projectile, I've got my enemy, I got my player running around the screen. Oh, right. You can shoot me. Hmm. Wait a minute, that's weird. I should have something. Oh, that's right. I haven't like set a lifetime for my projectile. So lifetime will be right now. The lifetime is 0. So that's why he's not even being born on the screen yet. He's like just kind of like he's getting ready to head out, and he's like, you know what, like life isn't worth it. He's just like staying there. So I'm gonna give him a lifetime of 5. Yeah, he was gonna be born from the enemy. He was gonna shoot out, but then he realized like once you get out into the real world, you got to pay bills. So he decided to just go ahead and cancel his life subscription. All right, now there we go. So this projectile should stay on the screen for about maybe 5 seconds. It's not staying on the screen for 5 seconds, but it shouldn't cancel itself that quickly. And I still have the problem with these explosions. So that should be because I still have it looping. I didn't cut this off the last time. So yeah. So that'll fix the fireworks effect. The constant fireworks. Okay. There we go. Now, I don't want you to like get confused. This is not necessarily just exploding because it's hitting the player. That's not the case. So actually, these explosions have absolutely nothing to do with the player. So they're not doing any damage. They're not even actually hitting the player. So if I stand right here, this thing is going to go. It's going to hit my position, but I'm not necessarily taking any damage. As a matter of fact, if I move right here, it's going to shoot to this position and it's going to explode. So basically, the projectile looks cool, but it's not actually hitting me. It's just going to my position and exploding where it's at. So in order to fix this, what I'm going to need to do is, let's see, anywhere projectile. I have it moving towards the position. What I need to do is maybe change, this is vector to moves towards. Yeah. I might not want it to necessarily like explode at the position that I'm at, actually. Okay, well, I'll come back to that later. But right now, let's go ahead and get it to get this projectile to actually hit the player. All right, so in here, I've got my player, I've got my enemy. I'm going to go ahead and change my player because I'm getting tired of looking at like just white all the time. So I'm going to name, like change this over to blue. And of course the enemy is going to be stereotypical red. Like Star Wars colors here. All right. And that gives us a little more sense of danger. All right, and this is all good. Now, I'm going to go back into the projectile script very quickly. And now we need to make it to where the projectile can actually hit the player. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and create this code. It's going to be an on trigger enter. And I'll explain what that is a little bit. So it's going to be void on trigger. So there are two of these. You're going to want to use for a 2D game, you're going to be using on trigger enter 2D, right? And so it'll fill all of that in. And I never leave this as collision for some reason. I always change it to other because I think that's like what I saw in the video tutorials. So I'm going to change this to other. Now, in order to get the projectile actually colliding with the player, well, basically we have no physics at the moment. So I'm going to need to go over to Unity and I'm going to need to put some stuff on this guy and on the projectile. So the things that I'm going to need to add to it, one, well, I'll click on the player and the player needs a body. Right now it has no body. It's just kind of floating around the screen and like things can pass through it and it takes absolutely no damage or anything whatsoever because our player is basically a ghost. And the same thing is, and our projectile has the same problem. So they can pass right through each other with no consequences. So in order to remedy that and make it to where our player can take damage and be killed, he needs to have a body. Basically, you can't die if you don't have a body. So our player has no body, so we're going to add one. So we're going to add a component, and that will be a rigid body, and rigid body 2D, because we're making a 2D game. And I'm going to leave this as dynamic right now. And right now, like he's got a body, and the way you can tell if he has a body is by pressing play. Right, and as soon as I press play and it starts up, well, you can tell our player has a body because he drops, right? So ghosts don't have bodies, so they kind of float. But if your player is falling off the screen, that means he's got a body. He's got a physical body. So we do want this rigid body on because that's going to be necessary for like collisions and interactions. However, we don't necessarily want this body to have any gravity. So on our player, I'm going to go to the gravity scale and I'm going to turn this to 0. All right, and now when I hit play again, you'll notice that our player doesn't fall off the screen because he's not affected by the physics gravity of this level. Right, so he's just kind of standing there, and he can still move around and dart around the screen and stuff like that, but he's not falling off the screen. All right, so we're going to have to do the same thing for the projectile. So, well, actually, before we do that, our player has a rigid body, but he's also going to need a collider. So we're going to add component, and we're going to type in, since our player is a circular like shape right now. I'm going to add a circle collider 2D, and yeah, that's it. So I can zoom in on this, and I can adjust the circle collider if I want to. But since it's a like perfect circle, then it generally doesn't need any adjustment. All right, so now I'm going to go to the projectile 2, and I'm going to do the same thing. So with this projectile, I'm going to add, I'm not necessarily going to add a rigid body. Um, I do add rigid bodies to these sometimes because I might want them to interact with other objects. So yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and add a rigid body. Even if it never really hurts to add a rigid body, in most cases, rigid body 2D. And then I'm going to turn the gravity scale off. Yeah. So you can add the rigid body. In this case, though, we're not necessarily going to need it. I'm just kind of adding it in case I want to add something to it later. And this one, since this projectile is a circle, I'm also going to add a circle collider 2D to this. And this time, though, I'm going to change the circle collider to trigger, right? And what that means is that it's not going to, the projectile isn't going to bump into the character. If I left this trigger off, they would interact with each other by hitting each other and bouncing off, and like there would be some kind of physical repercussions, like maybe the projectile would hit the player and the player would go this way. But when I set it to trigger, well, that means that basically it's kind of like possession. So so the projectile will interact with the player, but it won't have a physical effect. It'll have more of an internal effect. It's going to detect the player and pass through him like vision from the Avengers, right? So I'll save this here. So now we need to activate this trigger, though. So in this void trigger enter 2D on the enemy projectile script, we're going to use an if statement. So if, and that will be other, and other is going to be defined by compare tag. You get your ass back up there. By compare tag. And this compare tag will be, you guessed it, player. Player. All right, so if the compare tag is player, so if the tag that's being identified is player, then we'll use other dot get component. I cannot type tonight. Other dot. This will be get component. And we're going to need to enter in something. So I'll leave this here right now because we haven't actually created a player controller yet. So I'll go ahead and type this in, and then I will comment it out because we'll use it in a little bit. So hold on. Like we can type in. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Hold on that. So we'll come back to this function later because basically what I need to do is I need to create a player controller. So let me come over here and quickly create a player controller for the player. All right. So we just gave our player a rigid body and a 2D circle collider. But we're going to need to create a player script for this, right? So I'm going to go to Add Component, and I'm going to go to New Script, and I'm going to go with Player Controller 2, because you're a tutorial, and I might get rid of you. So Player Controller 2, and I'll click on this. All right. So the reason I'm creating a player controller is because player controller first is because right now our enemy projectile can possibly hit the player, but it doesn't necessarily do anything. So if I go over here to this, and it's like if I go to the enemy projectile script and I go to this right here, well, as soon as this interacts with the player, as soon as this hits the player, something should happen, right? Something should physically happen to the player. But it's not going to register because our player doesn't actually have it. Our player doesn't have a script to tell us exactly what is supposed to happen. So for simple purposes, we can use a debug.log first, debug.log. And I can type in like some text here. That'll be debug.log Player has been hit. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, player has been hit. So we'll just use a debug statement right now to show what's happening to the player, but there's not going to be any like really physical repercussions for this. So I'll save this script and I will go to Unity. Oh, sound like my kids are coming home. All right, all right, and when I hit play, we're going to go to the console here. Right? So, boom. So you'll notice that when the projectile hits the player, pay attention to this right here. It says player has been hit. Player has been hit. Yay, player has. But our player is just like so. I'm not taking any damage from this. I don't care. So we're gonna need to like. That's why we're adding a player script to this player right now, because we need to tell this. We know that the player is taking hits, but the player is not able to take any damage because we don't have a script to tell it what type of damage the player should take. So I'm gonna stop this right here. And I'm going to go back to my player controller right now. And I'm going to go ahead and start making this. So our player controller, now this player controller is, for this particular game, is separate from our movement script because I'm using the click to move script up here. So a lot of times I'll actually put the movement script in the player controller, but I'm not going to do that for this game because I want to keep them a little bit more modularized. All right, so for the player controller, we're going to need, the first thing we're going to need is health, right? So I'm going to create a public integer, and this is going to be for health. All right, and I'm also going to need a, actually that's kind of really all that we need right now. The rest of it'll come like in a little bit. However, okay, so I'm gonna need a health, and I am going to need something. I'll need to go ahead and prepare some variables that will allow us to track the health like visually in the UI. So I'll go ahead and put this one as well. So this will be a public text, and I'll explain what this is for later. Public text, and this will be like health display. Yeah, and don't worry about that. I'll tell you what it's going to be used for in a little bit. Actually, I'll go ahead and comment this one out. But we're going to need that. So we're going to need public health, and we're also going to need a public score, public int for score. So I'll just leave those two in here right now. So we'll need health and we'll need a score at least. All right. So what we need to do with the health though is we need to kind of set it up to where the player can actually take damage from being shot. So get rid of that. I'm going to go to the update function. And in the update function, I'm going to type in, actually I think I'll leave the update function alone for now. I think I'm going to create a new function first. I'm going to go to void and I'm going to type in take damage. And I'll make this a public void take damage. And I'm going to add this damage integer to it. So this means that basically this will only be able to take integer values, right? So we'll put health, yeah, health is minus equal to damage. So remember in our enemy projectile script, we actually have a damage float up here. Well, what this player controller script is saying is that our health will be minus the damage of, well, anything that's kind of damaging the player. So it's going, if it's a projectile that has 1 damage, then our player will take 1 damage from that particular projectile. However, if it's an enemy that runs into the player that has a 3 damage for like physical contact, then our player will be minus that health. So it gives us a lot of options to kind of like set projectiles and enemies that have different damage values, right? So that's where we're kind of declaring it like this. Then we're going to need a if statement. And in this if statement, it's going to be if health is equal to 0, then or sorry, less than or equal to 0, then we're going to instantiate. I thought I was going to get away with that one. Instantiate, and we're going to need a death effect. So we're going to need a death effect, and this will be at transform dot position of the player, and this will be like quaternion dot identity. All right. So I'm getting an error because like the Visual Studio like, what the hell is the death effect? So because I haven't declared it up here. So I'll go ahead and declare public game object death effect. Yeah, and that should clear that error up. All right, and then after that, I might also create. I like to have a death effect, and I want to have a splatter effect. So I'm going to use public game object, and I'll make a splatter effect as well. All right, so instantiate this one, and then also I'm going to use a destroy game object. So basically the player needs to die if he takes too much damage. What the hell was that? Hold on. I just got a message. Sorry, I'm still kind of working and doing this at the same time. So let me switch you over here. Oh, the Nicker, the follower. Hey, I'm not really typing so much right now because I'm just kind of working on this tutorial. But thank you for joining my Twitch stream. I'm doing this because I suck at programming. But yes, I am still a dev. I'm trying to become a better dev. All right. So here is what was I doing? Oh, okay. So I'm still working on the take damage thing. So here we go. This should be good enough for right now. All right, and for the splatter effect, I'll come back to that one later. So I'll go ahead and comment this out. Hey, Nick the Kicker. Yeah, I'm still around. So my goal for this year is to become better at game development and better at programming. So let's go back into, no, not that one. Let's go back into Unity. So I'm not using my Elgato at the moment. All right, so we've got this. All right, so we've got. So if you notice, like I can still move around. I can still take hits from the projectile, but there's nothing happening. Now the reason why there's nothing happening is because if you'll notice in this health, I haven't actually declared anything. I haven't like given him like any kind of health, so he's like 0. All right, so let's see what happens here. So I'm going to give him a health of 5, and now let's play again. Okay, so he's still like taking damage, right? So we haven't done the countdown on this yet. Now, one other thing that we haven't done is we haven't given this guy a death effect. So I'm going to have to give him a death effect, but I want my death effect to kind of be a little bit cool, so I'm going to change it. I'm going to make it a red one. But instead of creating a particle again, what I can do is I can just go ahead and like drag this particle up here, and I'm just going to be lazy and change the color of it. All right, and well, death effect done. All right, so and then I can like kind of play around with tweaking it later. So death particle effect. Okay. And I'll change the name of it up here, and then after I've changed the name of it, I will drag it into my effects as an original prefab. Yeah. All right. And so now that I've got this, I can click on my player and I can drag the death effect particle from here into this. All right. And I can get rid of this one in the hierarchy. Yeah, they say the best way to learn something faster is to start teaching it, so that's why I'm here. Right. So, but I still prefer doing the art more. So, all right. So let's see. Let's click on my player. Boom. Okay. So you've got health. Yep. Cool. So he should be taking damage now. And let's see, where am I at? Oh, actually, no, he's not taking damage. And the reason he's not taking damage is because I haven't done anything in my enemy projectile. Haha. So, all right. So, basically, we've already we've just set the player up to be able to take damage, but we actually haven't defined the damage in our enemy projectile script. So that's what this is for. So we're going to go back to our enemy projectile script, and on trigger enter 2D, we'll go to this if other.compare tag. So right now we've only got debug.log. It says, hey, the player has been hit, but now we need to tell this this section to actually damage the player. So instead of notifying us that he's been hit. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this. So other.getComponent, and now the reason I needed to create the player controller is because we needed something to kind of point to take the damage from in order to point it to the projectile damage I guess potential, right? So this is actually calling the damage variable from this, or damage function from this player controller. All right. So I've got this coded so far, and I'm going to go to take damage, which is now definable, and I'm going to go to damage here. Damage. And now when I comment this out, you'll notice that it is still white. Why? Yeah, sometimes I can't type for shit. So take damage, and then this will be damage. Okay, there we go. So for some reason this one isn't really changing to the color I want it to for some reason, but All right, so let's see why this isn't working. Other.getComponent, Playercontroller 2, take damage, debug log, and I'll go ahead and hit destroy projectile. Type in destroy projectile anyway, and put this here. Boom. Okay, I am getting an error. Why? Let's see. Controller 2. Effect. Game object. Instantiate this. Destroy game object. That should be working. But let's go to Unity and find out why it's not. No error in Unity. Argument cannot convert from float to int. Okay. Yeah, so let's see. That is 55.59. Alright, so take damage. Ah, okay, never mind. The reason that that was happening is because like I put that as a float instead of an integer. Haha. All right. And okay, that should fix it, I believe. Okay, yeah, there we go. So that yeah, I had my damage set as a float instead of an integer. So I don't want like somebody to be able to take like 1.5 damage. I want it to be like 1 or 0. So all right, so now we got our health, we got our score. Well, actually, I haven't put the score in here, but so I think for these tutorials, what I will be doing is I'll do like one programming tutorial and then I'll do one artwork because I feel more comfortable on the art side anyway, the art and the story side. So let's see. Yeah. So if you look down here, you'll notice our player is taking damage. Boom. So he's gone from 5 to 4 to 3. Yay. But we can't see that on the screen, so we're going to have to make a UI for this, which we will get to later. Okay, so let's see, what do we have so far? Let's save. We have our enemy who can like move around, we have our player who can move around, and we have our enemy who can shoot the player. And so now I think what we'll need to do is we will need to actually maybe add some obstacles to this. So I've got my player controller. Yeah, I think we're going to add like some obstacles. So let me find my notes on that. So I'm going to add a damageable obstacle. So we know that we know that the enemy can damage the player, but I want something else that can damage the player too. So something in the environment. And if you'll notice, our environment looks a little bit boring. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few little obstacles to this. And the way I'm going to do that is simply by adding this rectangle in here, which is huge. So let me scale this down a little bit. And actually, I'll scale it down more. And I think for this game, I want simple obstacles. So I'm going to turn everything black and maybe stretch this guy out a little bit. And for obstacles, like they're going to be like I'm going to have obstacles and I'm going to have borders, right? So like barriers. So this barrier is not going to damage the player, but it's just going to kind of be in the way. So I'm going to drag this over here and I'm going to add a rigid body 2D, and I'm also going to add a actually no, I'm just going to add a rigid body 2D to this, and I think I'm going to make it oh, no, sorry, I'm going to need a box collider 2D. That's what I was thinking about. So, add a rigid body 2D and a box collider. Now, for the rigid body, I don't want this border moving anywhere, and I don't really want my player to interact with it so much. So right now, if I hit play, come on. All right, so you'll notice that my border just kind of fell off the screen, right? And the reason why that happened is because we didn't set the gravity scale. So let's set the gravity scale to this for 0. And now let's hit play again. All right, and this is what happens. So the reason why this happens is because this is set for dynamic, right? And so if I don't want this to move after it's been like placed on the screen, what I need to do is I need to set the rigid body to something, well, called static. So I'll set this to static, and this will keep this barrier from moving when it interacts with other objects on the screen. Boom. Okay, so yeah, my player just kind of runs into it and gets stuck, which is good. So now what we're going to do with this is we're actually going to change this to wall. So I'm going to rename this wall, and I'm going to create a tag also called wall. So there's my wall and my wall tag. And now you notice that our player and our enemy can kind of run off the side of the screen. Well, I don't want that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this wall, and I think I want to lowercase that. I'm going to take this wall, and I'm going to create a prefab out of this as well. I'm going to just drop it in here, And now that we have our wall prefab, because I don't want to have a bunch of like unnecessary objects like created on the screen, I'm going to take this wall and I'm going to make my barrier or my kind of room out of this. So I'm going to I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to rotate it. And I can rotate by hitting E and turning it this way, or I can like just kind of do it in the inspector. So I'm going to do -90. And this will give me kind of like a border. So I think I'm going to put them up here. Maybe kind of center it right there. And then I'm going to hit R to scale it. And that will be the top of our room. And then I'm going to quickly like duplicate this and hit mute. And then I'm going to go down here and create another wall. And so you kind of get the idea where this is going. And then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to set the rotation back to 0, and maybe scale this one down a little bit on the Y axis, and drag this guy over here. All right, so we're just going to make a little basic room right now, and we'll be adding more advanced stuff later, right? Because we'll like the player will need to kind of navigate. So we're going to have like some little bit of a puzzle thing going on here. And I think I'm going to scale this down a little bit more and move him down a little bit more. All right, and then I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to bring it over here. All right, and that is our room that our player will have to kind of navigate and escape from. All right, and while I'm at it, I might as well add some other walls. And so I'll duplicate this, move this guy over here, rotate him 90, and put this over here. And like none of this is going to have to be perfect. I'm just kind of like eyeballing it right over here. And I think I'll put like one more somewhere, one or two more. So duplicate this, put this over here, maybe duplicate this and put this right here. And I want to make sure that my player can kind of go through these. So I want to make sure that he has enough space to kind of navigate the room. So I don't want to put too many things in here to where it starts feeling claustrophobic and shit. Okay, and duplicate. One or two more. Yeah, should do it. And while I'm doing this, I'm still thinking of the story for this game, by the way. So all of my games have to have a story. And I'll duplicate this guy here and put him down. Maybe, yeah, down here. And then we can kind of like fix everything else with it later. Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's our current room layout. Yay! Okay, I'll move him down a little bit because that just kind of looks annoying. All right, and also I'll add one more over here. Duplicate. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is what our room looks like right now. Maybe not so linear. Yeah. All right, so let's play around and see if our little ball player can make it through this little mini maze. So if you notice, our enemy has a little bit of trouble making it around these obstacles. So if I run down here, well, he can't really chase me, but our projectile can still go through this, which is a problem because I want our projectile to interact with these walls as well. So while our enemy gets stuck due to physics, our projectile has a trigger on it. So remember, our trigger makes it kind of act like a ghost. So it doesn't really matter where the player runs and tries to hide. I mean, this guy, he's like hiding behind a corner and this like bullet is still going to get him. He's boom. So in order to fix that, we're going to go to the projectile script. And we're going to be in the onTrigger enter 2D. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add a little bit of extra code to this. And that extra code is going to be an else statement. Else, and let's see, is it going to be else or else if? I think that's just going to be else. Let me check my notes. Yeah, enemy projectile. Okay, yeah, so that'll be a else if statement. Else if and dun 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 dun. All right, so else if, and I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna copy this. Right, and remember that wall tag that we just created? Well, that's where I'm gonna put this. So else if wall, and then I'm just gonna put destroy. Destroy projectile. Destroy projectile. And my fingers are freezing. All right, and that should make it to where the projectile is able to interact with walls. So basically, the enemy won't be able to shoot through them to hit the player. So I know this is like really, really basic for a lot of you guys, but for me, since I don't really like programming so much, this is going to be a very good way for me to study how to program and how to explain programming to people in the future. So yeah, just bear with me a little bit. I'll be much better on the art side. So let's go back to Unity. Okay, and let's go hide in a little corner over here. Boom. All right, so as soon as it interacts with it hits this wall, it actually disappears and doesn't damage our player, and that's kind of what we're looking for. Okay, so now we can move on to the next thing, which will be our obstacles. So if you'll notice, we created one obstacle. We created a few obstacles, but these are more like kind of like walls and barrier types, right? They don't actually do any damage to the player. So if I want to have an obstacle that actually does damage to the player, then basically I will need to create a new script. But before I do that, I'm just going to click on click on this guy over here and save my project. So I'm going to click on this guy and I'm going to duplicate him and I'm going to drag him out here. Right. And I think I'm going to shrink him down a little bit. So I'm going to shrink him down and then I'm going to add something else to him. Make him look a little bit dangerous. So I'm going to add this triangle, which is still big. All right, so yeah, I thought all of these were gonna be much smaller than they're actually turning out to be. So, all right, so I'm gonna add this triangle, and I'm gonna shrink it to about this size, and I'll go ahead and drag him over here, and maybe rotate him a little bit because he seemed to be a bit off center. All right, so do this, and then I'm gonna duplicate that triangle, and I'm going to flip it on the y-axis and drag it down here. All right. And if you notice, something kind of funky happened with the Z. So yeah, it's like still trying to kind of rotate it on Z a little bit, but all right. So I'll drag it over here. All right. Yeah, just like that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these two and I'm going to drag them, click both of them and drag them under this wall 12. And the reason why I'm dragging them under this wall 12 is because now they are part of the same thing, basically. So I've got my 12. Let me reactivate these. Sorry. So if I click this off, well, basically that means that they're all part of the same unit. All right. So we have our wall 12, but our wall 12 isn't going to do any damage to the player, so he can just kind of run into this thing or like bounce off of it, right? So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to create a script, but I think this kind of looks boring, so I'm going to duplicate this wall 12 and wall 13. Make a wall 13, and I'm going to rotate this maybe 90. Yeah. All right. And then I'm going to combine both of these together, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to create an empty. And I want this to be something like, rotating blades, right? So rotating blades. And I'm going to drag this wall 12 and wall 13 under rotating blades, right? And make them all part of the same unit. All right. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to keep these two selected, and I'm going to duplicate them again. And after I duplicate them, I'm going to hit R, and I'm going to scale these guys down. And I'm going to hit E, and I'm going to rotate them a little bit, like this way. Yeah. Okairi. Okay, so my youngest son just got home. All right. So, I'm going to do that. Actually, I might do that twice. So I'm going to rotate, maybe have 3 sets. So I'm going to duplicate wall 13 and 14, and then I'm going to, so I have 4 sets of these. And I'm going to scale this one up a little bit, and I'm going to also rotate these guys. So, and I'll rotate these up like this. And I'm also going to, since I'm here, I'm also going to kind of change the color of this one. So I think I'm going to change this one to red. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to change all of these to a little bit of a red color. Yeah. All right. Yes, I'm going to change all of these to the same color, actually. Sorry, my kid's saying something. Nani? Oh. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to change all of these to red, and I'll show you why I'm doing that in a little bit. And then, actually, I'm going to group these. So I'm going to group, I'm going to create another empty, make this, blades. I guess that'll be, actually, I'll put those in the middle. So these will be blades 2. So all of these red ones that I have created will be under blades 2. These 2 small ones will be under blades 1. So I'll create another empty. I'm just kind of making this up as I go. So blades 1 and okay, and then last one will be blades 3. Okay. So yeah, so I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to stick them under rotating blades. All right, so blade 2 will be the red ones. I think I kind of want to put these on a different layer though. So blades 1, the small ones, if you'll notice, they're kind of hiding behind these red ones. So I want to change the layer order of this, so I'll put this at 10, right? Okay, and that'll give us a pretty cool effect when they start doing what I want them to do. All right, so there we go. All right, but this all looks cool, but they still don't do any damage to the player. So in order to get them damaging the player, I'm going to need to go up here, and I'm going to first need to I'm going to have to add a collider with this. So I'll add a rigid body 2D. Now, if you notice, my rotating blades is kind of off center. So my collider, my rigid body is down here, but my blades are up here. And the reason for that is because I didn't center them. So normally when you're creating graphics, you want to center everything to 0, which is what I didn't do. So I'll need to correct that at the moment. So, and if you're wondering where 0 is on your screen, normally it's where the camera's at. So I'm going to grab these guys. And I'm simply going to drag them to where my camera is at right now. Boom, 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 boom. Right around there. All right. And now that should center everything up. All right. And I don't want them right over here, though. So I'm going to bring them up here, and I'm going to shrink them down a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. To where the player can kind of pass through it. Or go around it, I should say, if he's careful. All right, so there we go. So here's our first major obstacle. Now, I'm going to need to, since this doesn't do any damage to the player, I'm going to need to add a couple of things to it. So I've got my rigid body, and I need to add a circle collider. So I'm going to go with the circle collider for this because it's, the circle collider is going to include all of these pieces inside of it. And if you'll notice though, the circle collider is a little bit small. So I'm going to click this edit collider and I'm going to drag it down here and just kind of make it make it come out towards the edges right around there. And that's going to be my circle collider that the player will kind of bump into. And this will also be a trigger, right? All right, so I got my blades, I've got my circle collider, I got my rigid body, and I'm going to turn the gravity scale off, save. And now I need to create my script for this. So I'm going to add component, go to new script, and I'm going to add damage obstacle 2. 2 because it might be expendable. All right. And okay, it's still doing something down here. So let me click on this. Damage obstacle 2. All right, so for this, it's basically going to be like the projectile, really. So the only variable that I need will be damage, though, because this thing, this particular one might not move. So I'm just going to put like a public int damage. Integer because like I want it to be a whole number. And then I'm going to go, I think I'm going to skip start. And I'm going to go to update and I'm going to, actually I'm not going to go to update either. I'm going to go to void, void on trigger. I'm going to create another on trigger event, And then if I want to add something else to it later, I can. But on trigger enter 2D, and I always change this to other because like I just always change it to other and other. And down here I'm going to go create an if statement. If other dot compare tag is and I think player will be the tag that I'm looking for. And I tend to forget to add the other like brackets to this, or like what are those called? Parentheses. So I've been living in Japan so long I'm starting to forget English. All right. So in this case I'll put other dot get component. And this is going to be the same thing. We're going to need to get the component from the player controller. So player controller 2, and don't forget to add these parentheses, and then this is going to be take damage, and I'm going to assign damage to this, and then I can go to debug.log, just to make sure I've got something in here. Player has been shredded. Okay, so I'll put like player has been shredded. So this is basically called the take damage function from the player controller script. So like any damage, the damage amount that these obstacles will give the player will be subtracted from his current health. Right. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go over here. So like gotta think of what to make for dinner. So last night I made meatball pasta, and it was good. So tonight I don't really feel like cooking, so hopefully my wife will do that for me. All right. All right. So we've got so we got our rotating blades, but they're not really rotating. I'll explain that one in a little bit, sorry. So right now we're just gonna like go ahead and assign damage. So I'll put like a 3 damage for this. Okay, so now when I come up here, like if you'll notice, my player had been shredded. So if you look down here, my player had been shredded because he entered that zone, right? And if I enter it again, my player should die. All right, so he died in a particle explosion. Yay. So we have a dangerous obstacle for our player to have to avoid in this level now. Yay. But you know, these are called rotating blades, but you don't see them rotating, so I'm gonna have to fix that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to these blades here. And I'm going to click on all of them and I'm going to add a component. And the reason what I'm going to add is a new script. And this will be my, I want to have like some kind of object rotation. So I will call these, the script, rotating objects 2. Because just having this sitting in the middle of the room, like not doing anything, just looks boring, right? So I'm gonna have my rotating objects 2, and I'm gonna open up this script. And for, of course, the first thing that we're going to need is something called rotation. So we're gonna put public float rotation z. My fingers are feel like they're frozen even though I'm sitting inside of my house. So might have to cut my heater on a little bit. I should probably cut it on anyway before the kids get home. Public float, and this will be rotation speed. So this will be like the how fast the rotation actually happens, the cycles basically. How fast the object rotates. And then I'm going to need I want my objects to have the option of rotating clockwise or counterclockwise. So I'm going to go ahead and add that as well. So this will be a new type. So this will be a public boolean. So public bool, and this will be clockwise rotation. So for a boolean, it's usually just it's like a light switch on or off. So let's see, I'll put like allows the option for rotating clockwise or counter. Yeah. Wow, why is it so cold in here? All right. So probably because I'm sitting down and I'm not moving that much. All right. So anyway, so I've got my 3 variables up here, and so I'm going to be under the void. Under the update method, I'm going to use another if statement. So if, and I'll put like a clockwise rotation equals false. So a boolean is basically true or false. So that's why I say it's like a light switch on or off. So I'm going to put rotation z plus equals and our favorite time dot delta time. Damn it. Time dot delta time. Delta time. And I spelled delta wrong, that's why. Time dot delta time, and that will be times the rotation speed. All right. So basically, if this will create a checkbox in the inspector. So if I place a check in the box, then this will allow if the clock rotation is set to, that'll set it to checked will set it to true, not checked will set it to false. Right, so if it's set to false, that means that it'll rotate. It'll basically rotate going to the right. If I put a check in the box, it'll rotate going like clockwise. Or I'm pretty sure I fucked that up, but you'll get the idea when I'm in the inspector. All right, so we're gonna go to else, and we'll put like else. I don't like it when it puts my brackets down here for some reason when I'm doing if-else statements. All right, so else, and we'll put like rotation z is plus minus time dot delta time, time.delta time times rotation speed. And then down here I will need a transform, and this will be a transform.rotation. Transform.rotation, and that will be equal our favorite quaternion. And this time we're going to, instead of quaternion identity, we're going to be using what's called a quaternion Euler. Quaternion Euler. I don't know what the hell that means either, but it had something to do with like I guess like degrees and angles and all that mathematical stuff that I hate dealing with. All right, and then it's gonna be like rotation z. All right, and we're gonna save this script and see if we get any errors in Unity. My hot chocolate used to be hot. Now it's all cold because my room is cold. So, oh, in case you're wondering, I'm actually recording in the kitchen, so I don't have my usual recording space because, due to COVID, my wife had to work from home as well, so she needs a more quiet space because she had to do like official business stuff. So she's actually using upstairs. So that's why. Sorry if you guys are hearing like more noise and more I guess distractions and like doorbells and stuff like that. But it's kind of shogunized. There's nothing we can do about it because of COVID. All right, so yeah. So we've got this script on all of our blades. And so what I'm going to do for blade 2, so I can check to see which was the middle blade, I'm going to set this rotation to maybe, actually, I don't need this rotation Z, so I'm going to go back into the script and I'm going to change this to a private. And I'm just going to, set this to a private because I don't need to deal with that in the inspector. So private, and that'll make a little bit more sense. All right, so I'll set that to private rotation Z because we don't need to deal with it in the inspector. And the float and the bool are the only two things that we want the option of being able to change. All right, so for the middle blade, like blade 2, I'm going to give this a rotation speed of maybe about 400. Yeah. 400. For this one, and I'll leave that one as like clockwise. And then for blades 1, maybe I'll put this one as maybe 100. So yeah, 200, 400, and I'll switch this to clockwise rotation. And then for this one, I'll also leave this one as like a clockwise rotation, and maybe I should give this one a rotation of about maybe 200 or maybe 300. Yeah, I'll give this one a rotation of 300 and see how that works. All right, now let's play. Okay. Now, that was not the intended effect. And probably the reason for that is because, also, remember I didn't center everything up in the beginning? Well, I also didn't do that for these, that's not the intended effect, but it still kind of looks cool. All right, so, let me go ahead and fix that. So, I've got my blades too. So, the rotating blades I set to the actual X position. So I need to do that for these as well. So let me go ahead and move these guys over here to the actual ouch. All right, and move these guys over here. All right. So here we are here, and so I need to move them. Okay, that's good. So I need to move these to the zero position of rotating blades though. Yeah, so I'll just move all of these guys down here, I think. And then rotating blade should be right there. Alright, and now let's play. Huh. Sorry, I'm still having the same effect. Okay, let me figure out what I messed up here. So, you guys are 0. You guys are not zeroed under this. Rotating blade. Why are you down here? Oh, arigato. Huh. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and zero everything. Everything out. So, usually when you're creating something, I forgot to mention, like, usually when you're creating something, you probably want to go ahead and zero it out in the beginning anyway. And that avoids situations like this. But that's what I didn't do, which is why I'm having problems now. No. Yeah, I'll leave. These guys should be fine. But for the actual, well, I'll need to like center them up. All right, and same for this, I believe. Will need to be. Wait a minute. Nope. Well, this kind of stuff happens, so let's see how that works. Triangles I don't need to worry about, just these, I guess. I'm getting kind of hungry, too. Okay, yeah. So yeah, a good rule of thumb is like, because I'm just kind of tectony making this, but a good rule of thumb is actually to go ahead and, make sure that when you're building when you're making your graphics, to go ahead and center them out. All right, so we go blades 2 and blades 3. Okay, so now I should be able to bring them up here, I think, and kind of center them here. All right, now let's see if this works. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. All right, cool. So, yeah, sorry about that. Now let's go back to rotating blades, and we'll move this up here, and we'll make this look a little bit more dangerous by speeding up a few of these blades. So, the middle one, I think I want that one to rotate a lot faster. Make it look like, the red blade, I kind of want them spinning at a higher velocity. So I will go to that's blades 2, and maybe rotation speed, I'll put this at 500. That's too much. 450. All right, and then and I think I want them going counterclockwise. Okay, so yeah, that's not really what the effect I'm kind of going for though. Maybe 300. That's what it was before. And blades 1. Let's see. What are you guys at? You guys are at like. What if I slow you down to 50? Nah. That's just like, yeah. I'm looking for a good kind of like, something that looks like it's gonna slice you effect. Okay. That's too fast. So I should have the bigger blades moving slower, I think. which means that the middle blades, I guess 400 was good. Not sure how I feel about that, actually. 200, 350, 400. Well, now I'm just kind of nitpicking. But anyway, like I think I'm gonna change the rotation for the bottom blade though. So I'll leave the bottom blade at 300. Blades 1 will be at 100. Blades 2 will be at 401, and 3 will be clockwise rotation. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and change that. So 400, 100, and blade 3 will be, yeah. And let's see how that looks. Looks roughly the same, but I don't care. All right, so yeah. So we'll leave it like this. Anyway, like the object of it is to get something that looks like it's going to cut the character, which this actually does. Okay, maybe you can be 100 and you could be 4? Could you be 4 for me? Actually, that doesn't really look too bad. So I think I might leave it like this. All right, so there we have our rotating obstacle, which will damage the player. So let's go back to rotating blade. Make sure that he's got like a little bit of damage. So he does 3 damage. So if the player interacts, like bumps into this in any shape, form, or fashion, he's going to take some serious damage. Make him a little bit smaller, I guess. Actually, no, a little bit bigger. And I think I'm going to move the enemy over here. So I'm going to move the enemy over here to where he has to do something. All right. And yeah. To where he has to kind of come toward the player. All right. So the player can kind of run around here. All right. Cool. Right. Okay. Cool. So we have a player that can run around screen and he can like take damage from the enemy. We've got like some rotating obstacles that will actually damage the player in the environment. We have walls set up to where he can't run off the screen. And I think that's basically what I'm going to do with this for now because I'm getting cold and I'm getting to where I need to like make dinner because my kids are home now. All right, so like I will continue with this a little bit later. So like I said, this is just like a little temporary project that I'm kind of working on, trying to get all of the coding and stuff, to where it becomes more second nature, I guess. I'm still having to use my notes a lot, but then again, most developers do. So I am gonna go ahead and add a coin to this though. Now I think about it. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and add a coin and like something to like actually watch the player's health. So yeah, I was gonna go ahead and end this broadcast, but my oldest son isn't home yet, so I still have a little bit of time. So I'll go ahead and drag this in here. So I'm gonna drag in a circle, and I'm going to shrink this circle down, of course, to where it's very, very small, and I'm actually gonna like squeeze them a little bit. Not that. Squeeze this a little bit. Yeah. And I'm going to turn this guy yellow. Like over here. And then I'm going to zoom back out of this. And yeah, okay, that looks a little bit like a coin. Yeah. All right, and I'm going to name this coin. Coin. And I'm going to create another tag, and we're going to go ahead and add this tag as coin. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a coin script. All right, so this will be like coin 2. And this coin script isn't really going to do too much actually. So it's just going to destroy the coin when it interacts with the player. So I'm not even going to need any variables for this one. I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to create a void, and we're going to use damn it, void on trigger enter 2D. All right, and I'm going to name this to other. All right, and then I'm going to use my if statement. So this will be if other dot compare tag. Yeah, compare tag will be this time I'm going to use the coin. All right, and so if other dot compare tag equals coin, and then the only thing I'm going to do with this is destroy the game object. Yeah, destroy game object. All right, so that should be good. All right, and then I'll come back over here to Unity, and I'm not really going to give this coin a value, so I can add values and stuff to it later. Okay, so here's our coin, and let's see if it does anything when it interacts with the player. Okay, so player's over here, and boom. It does absolutely nothing. And the reason why it does nothing, can anybody guess? It's because I have not added any kind of rigid body or circle collider to this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and add those two things. So rigid body 2D and add component. This will be like a circle collider 2D, and this will be a trigger because we have an on trigger enter. That's why. And I don't know why I'm freezing rotation here. I mean to take the gravity off. So take the gravity off of this guy, and now he should vanish. But like he's vanishing, but there's really not anything that kind of show, you know, any what's actually going on with this coin. So it's just like, oh, the player hit something and it vanished. Wow, you know. So hey, why are you not hitting? Why are you not disappearing? Give me a second. Something is alright here. Why? Coin. Oh, actually, I could have just added that script in the player. Now that I think about it. So let me, because I mean, sometimes I add the script to the coin. Sometimes I like to add it to the player. In this case, I should probably add it to the player. Kinda. Let me see. So, oh, never mind. Player. That's why. Yeah, I got my scripts mixed up. Okay, I can't stand this anymore. I'm gonna have to cut my heater on because I'm freezing. I wish I had like Star Wars powers, you know, like, you know, I could just force push the button. All right, there we go. So, yeah, now like you know, this coin vanished, but you know, we don't really have anything for his health or like to indicate anything that's really kind of going on with this character. It's just like, you know, he's just running into stuff. We know he can take damage, we know he can die, but other than that, we don't really have any like thing to, you know, kind of check his health. So like you know, we basically have to count ourselves whenever he takes a hit, which isn't cool. So we're going to add like some UI elements to this. So I'm going to, before I add UI elements though, I am going to go ahead and add a couple more projectiles. So I'm going to add, I'm going to go ahead and drag this triangle on here and resize it down. right? And this time I'm gonna like drag this up, and I'm just gonna make some spikes, like some little random spikes to go around because we can like use these and tile these out later. And I'm gonna change this to color to a black, right? And then I'm gonna like resize it down, and I'm gonna move it down here, right? And then I'm just gonna duplicate this a couple times, you know, duplicate, resize, um, maybe duplicate, uh, move, maybe slant him out a little bit, you know, this kind of thing. Resize, or maybe actually make this one stick out a little bit more this way. All right, and then I'm going to take these three triangles, and I'm going to now in Unity 2020 I can actually like click all three of them and turn them into a kind of parent them under, create a parent above them. So I'll put like spikes 1 here. All right, and so now that I got my spikes together, I'm going to add a rigid body, and I'm going to take the gravity scale off, and well, some of these I might want to leave the rigid body on because I might want them to drop. But in this case I don't. So I'm in this case, and I'm going to add a box collider this time. And I'm going to make this a trigger. And you know that script that I had on the rotating blades? Well, that damage obstacles. Yeah, I'm just going to like, sorry, not remove component. I'm just going to copy this component, copy component, and like go to my spikes, and I'm going to paste component as new right there. All right, so now when my player runs into these spikes, he should take damage. But now I need to check the box collider. So here's my box collider. Here's my triangle spikes. So what I need to do first is I'm going to center this one. So I'm going to center this one, and I'm going to center here. And then these other two guys, I'm just going to drag to match where he's at, right? Yeah. And now I'm going to take all three of these and group them under this guy. And what I need to do is I need to, wait a minute, you guys are still a little bit off center. So, which is not so bad, but actually it's kind of cool. Now, if you're ever having trouble kind of remembering where you're putting stuff, you can also do this right here. You can like put these little select icons, and that'll show you exactly the center of where everything is. So I use that a lot in my game because I have like a lot of I tend to have a lot of assets on the screen. All right, so now we've got this, and the reason that's important is because I added this box collider 2D, but if you'll notice, it's a little bit small for the area, so I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. All right, now that you know, this gives me the area that my player can kind of run into. I might extend it out over here a little bit, but I don't want it to be like too big, otherwise it'll look like he's taking damage from something that's not there. All right, and so let me click this, move these guys down here, and this will be like a little corner obstacle that my player had to kind of navigate around. So I'm gonna add a couple of these actually. So I'm gonna duplicate and come over here, maybe add it to this corner and rotate it this way. Rotate it this way, or I might actually even like yeah, rotate it this way. Maybe move it to the other side since I don't really have yeah, I'll move it to the other side. It'll look better over here, like it's coming out of this wall. All right. So yeah, here's like just a little, few little obstacles, you know. So that'll make it a little bit more tricky for my player to navigate. Maybe a little bit too tricky if I put it over there. Actually, now that I think about it. So yeah, let's kind of move you over somewhere else. Yeah, my player like, you know, you don't want to make it like too difficult or anything. All right. So my player should be able to get through here. Okay, so let's see. Can he move around here? Yeah, he can move around here. He can get around there. Yay. Okay, he can get his coin. And let's see. He's gonna have to like, he's gonna have a bit of a, okay, bit of a hard time getting past this though. So, I might need to, yeah, like, I'll drop this down a little bit and maybe move this guy over some. Yeah, not you, like the whole thing. So move rotating blades over a little bit more towards the center. So I'll put rotating blades in the center actually, and then I will move these four things also over to the center. Um, this guy, not you. Spikes one, I might move you over. What happened? Okay. Ah, that's why, though. Sorry guys, now I'm just kind of nitpicking. So, alright, so now I can move these spikes over here, kinda. Yeah. I guess I'll keep them over here, because I'll put like some other stuff around there. Alright, anyways. So now let's see if our player has a little bit of an easier time moving around this level. Okay, so you can get up here. Okay, he hasn't gotten tagged. Okay, he just got tagged by the enemy. Now, of course, notice he can still kind of run through the enemy, so I'll fix that in a little bit. Yeah, but, he's kind of got like a little bit of a safety zone, so he can get his coins and stuff like that. All right, so what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and duplicate these coins. So, actually, I'll go ahead and turn this coin into a prefab before I duplicate anything. So, coin. Prefabs, just like some random prefab, and I'll go ahead and like make a couple of duplicates. I'll put a coin over here, and I'll put a coin like maybe over here, and duplicate a coin over here. All right, so you've got coins all over the place. Now, really, what I'm thinking, I haven't really actually even thought about a storyline for this game. So I'm just kind of randomly just making a simple game. Alright, so I've given him all of these. So these coins might actually change to collectible items that the player will need to get out of the room eventually. I think that's kind of what I'm going to be going for. And with the player as well, let me shrink him down just a little bit. Alright, there we go. Alright, so that's good enough for there. But now we need to go ahead and add kind of like some scoring and add a little bit of UI to this. So, because we can't really tell when the player is taking damage, so that's a problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up here to level, and I'm going to add UI. And I'm going to add a UI canvas to this. Right, and a UI canvas is basically going to allow me to, display stuff on the screen. So, display stuff above the game, above the gameplay area. So I've got my UI canvas, and usually I'll change the settings to scale with screen size. Right. And under my UI canvas, I mean, I can like name this like UI just to keep from confusing myself. And so under UI, I'm going to create probably just a text object, right? So I'm going to go to UI and I'll create a text object. And I'm going to name this text object maybe HP label. HP label. Okay. And I'm going to change this to HP. Now, if you notice you're not really seeing anything here or over here, well, that's because my UI is actually located here somewhere, right? So, and it's kind of dark. So what I can do is, if I can't really find it, I can click here and then I can like type F, and there it is. There's my HP text. So I'm going to change the color to white to where it's easier to see. Where's my color? There we go. And I might also change the change it to bold. All right. So if you'll notice, this HP is just kind of chilling right in the middle of my screen. So what I'm going to do now is I need to align this. So I'm going to click on this HP label, and I'm going to click here. And I can hold Shift, I think it's Shift, hold Option. And Option, and I'll click the left corner. And that will move it over here, right? And so it's kind of moved it up to this top left corner. Right. And if you'll notice in the game view, it's kind of stuck right over here. So what I can do is I can maybe make this a little bit smaller here. I do want to change the font size though, so I'll change this to 20. And now what I want to do is I can use a few different tools, but I'm going to use this one just to kind of move it down here. Yeah. Okay, so that'll be HP. And then instead of going through all those steps, I'm just going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to drop it down. And this one will be, of course, score. So we've got HP and we've got score. And I've got to change this to score label. All right. So HP, score, good. Actually, I think I'm going to put a space here. And for HP, I'm also going to put a little bit of a space there. All right. So these are the two labels. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy both of these. And then I'm going to just kind of not do that. I'm going to duplicate both of these, and then I'm going to drag them out here, right? And these I'm going to change the name to. So this one is going to be like health display, and this one is going to be score display. Yeah. So health display, score display, and for both of these, I'm just going to type in 0. All right, and for health display, I'm going to slide him over a little bit more towards the HP. All right, and yeah, this is where we're going to start kind of keeping track of our score and our health. So let me save these. Now, what I need to do is I need to do a little bit of coding. So I need to go back into my player script, and for my health, I need to add that to my take damage. So I'm going to go under my Playercontroller 2, and I'm going to jump down here. Well, before I jump down here, though, I'm going to, I need text. I need to be able to update the text in the UI. So I'm going to uncomment this. So this public text health display I'm going to uncomment that. But if you'll notice, I'm getting an error. Well, the reason why I'm getting an error is because I need to add a Unity engine space to this. So I'm going to be typing in using Unity engine. And the Unity engine space that I need will be UI, right? So as soon as I type that in, then you'll notice that this error goes away. So I've got public text health display, and I'm going to copy this one, and then I'll do a score display as well. So copy paste. So the more you do, the more you code, then the more you can learning how to copy and paste stuff is really beneficial. All right, so I've got these two, one to keep track of health, one to keep track of score. And let's see, what else do I need? I've got health, score. I'll also need I'll move my public score effect up here. Boom. So I've got health, score, and health display, score display. All right. So first thing I'll need to do with this score display is in start, I'll need to go ahead and with the score, I'll need to go ahead and set the score to a certain value. So I'll put score equals 0. All right, and that'll set the score to 0 when the level starts. And then in the update function, I'll need to I'll need to turn this health display text into something readable. So you notice that my health is actually displayed as a number in Unity, right? So it's being displayed as 0, so it's as a integer value. But in order to update that, well, I'll basically be updating the text for it. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to go into the health display.text value, and then I will need to convert this integer to a string so that it can display properly in the assigned space, basically. So this will be like health dot to string. Yeah, health to string. Thank God for like autocorrect. And then I'll this here, right? And this will help convert my like whenever my player basically gets damaged, then the value that's being deducted from the player's health will display in that UI as a string value. All right, and also I'll need to do the same thing for score display. So score display dot text equals score to string. So basically the same thing here. All right. So now we haven't really discussed how I'm going to get a score. So right now I'm just going to get a score by picking up those coins, as a simple method. But for health, what I'll need to do is maybe, let's see. Well, actually, let's see how that works, because this should be working right now anyway for his health, not for his score. So basically, whenever the player takes some damage, we should start seeing his health go down, right? So, oh, wait a minute. I've just hit play. I have a bad habit of hitting play without adding stuff to the player. All right. So let's see. Let's go ahead and stop this one. I'll go to player. And then I'll need to add the health display and the score display. So those UI elements that I just created, I'll just drag them and drop them into here. So health display and score display, and score is set to 0. Cool. All right, now when I hit play and the player starts getting shot and taking damage, you should visually see his health number decrease without having to look into the console. Oh yeah, somebody just turned the heater on, so I guess they were cold too. All right, so I'm just going to kind of run into this suicide. Boom! So you'll notice that his HP just dropped down to 2, and then when he gets shot again, 1, and then when he gets shot again, he's dead. Okay, shot down in a blaze of glory. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to give this guy a way to get some, guy or girl, a way to get some scoring, to collect some coins, get some scoring on, so... All right, so for the score, we will basically just do that with the coins, and this should be pretty simple. So if you'll notice, with this particular script, we don't have a on trigger enter 2D yet. So I'm going to use that for the coins. So void on trigger enter 2D. All right, and of course I'm going to change this to other, and kind of same thing that we did. So if statement, so it'll be if other dot compare tag, and this is where that comes in. Coin, is that, did I say coins or coin? I can't remember. Okay, yeah, coin. So yeah, if other dot compare tag coin, and then I'm just going to increase the score. So score plus plus. Well, I could put I can put whatever value I want to, but basically it's just going to be I'm just going to increase it by 1. why am I getting an error? Oh, I'm getting an error because, of course, I forgot the other little parenthesis. There we go. Alright, so let's test this out in Unity. Yeah, I know, I just took care of that shit. Alright, so now as our player goes around the screen and bumps into these coins, like he should be able to, he or she, should be able to pick them up. And the score is increasing. Yay. Yeah, get greedy. Get your money, man. Get your money. Alright, so there we go. Alright, and I think like the next thing I'm going to do is, since my oldest son isn't home yet and someone else has started cooking dinner, I think what I'm going to do now is we got damage. So we got damage, we got coins that we can pick up. What else do I need? I think I'm going to add a transition to this as well. So right now we've only got like one level. Yeah, so one level, we'll need something, when the player dies, we'll need a few things. Actually, the player death looks a little bit boring as well. So that's why I was going to add this splatter effect. So I'm going to go ahead and add this splatter effect. So public object splatter effect. And for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another, another function. So hold on. As a matter of fact, that's one trigger enter TD, and I'm gonna do. Under the player controller, I'm gonna add a splatter effect kind of thing. It's so cold. So. Okay, so I'll add a void and splatter effect method. Okay. And this will be, I'm going to instantiate, let's see, death splatter. Instantiate death splatter, which I haven't created yet, so that'll be transform dot position, and that'll be quaternion dot identity. So I'm just going to try to make the death look a little bit cooler, I think. But of course, it's like, hey, what the hell is death splatter? So, and I'm going to like also use a destroy on this. Destroy, and this will be a game object. Destroy game object, and I'll add it with a lifetime. All right. Do I have lifetime up here? Yeah, so I'll need to go ahead and add those two things. So for splatter effect, I will need to add a public game object. Public game object, and this will be splatter. Maybe I think I could call that death splatter. So yeah, death splatter. Yeah. And then I'll need a public float of lifetime. Lifetime. Alright, yeah, so that'll give me my death splatter and my lifetime. So, now I haven't really called this anywhere, so that's kind of why, if you'll notice, it's kind of dim down here, so I haven't called it anywhere, that's why. So I'm going to call that, let's see, splatter effect will be in the, we'll come under here, I guess. So under the instantiate the death effect. So death effect, so basically we'll have the explosion, and then I'm going to leave a stain where the character died. So splatter effect. And that's just like calling it right here. Alright, so Now back in Unity. Okay, yeah, for some reason it didn't switch over. So back in Unity, I've got to go to my player, and like I've got a splatter effect, death splatter. Actually, I don't need one of these, so splatter effect. Oh, okay, I've got two of them, so I'll just go with the splatter effect. This was just one that I put in. I kind of forgot about. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to animate, and I'm going to I've got these guys kind of open, so I'm gonna go ahead and um, drag this guy over here, and I'll turn him into a symbol, and I'll just like name him like something red nantoka, red splat. Hmm. Right, and then like I can like go ahead and do the export PNG sequence kind of thing, and then I'll go back over to Unity. Actually, I think I canceled that. Yeah, I did cancel that. All right, so export PNG sequence, red splat. All right, and I will import this into Unity. So let me go to my right, so here's my red splat. Let me go down to my sprites, and I'll just click this and drag this up in here, and that's going to go above. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now I'm going to maybe click on this coin and go find it down here. And I'm going to drag this red splat onto the stage and shrink it down a lot. Okay, yeah, maybe about this size, a little bit bigger than the character. And I think I'm also going to like maybe actually that bright stain looks kind of good though. Yeah, so I think I might like make it a little bit dimmer there. And I'm going to make this red splat a prefab. So I'm gonna drag this into prefabs. Right, and then I can kind of delete this from the screen. So delete. All right, and in my player, since he's kind of looking for death splatter, so I'm gonna drag this splatter, death splatter right in here. Wait a minute. Sorry, I got to drag the prefab. Red splat will be right here. Come on. All right, and I noticed that he's still hanging out over here, so I probably didn't save the script. All right, there we go. So splatter effect. I will change this to splatter effect as well. Yeah. So I've got death effect and then splatter effect. This one I'm just going to get rid of totally. Okay. So that should be all good. And lifetime maybe about like 2. Alright, so now let's see what happens. So, when my player dies, you'll see like the explosion, and then it'll like leave an indication of where he died, basically. So he'll run into this, and then he's been shredded once, boom. And now, like, we've got our nice little splatter effect here. And that's the end of the game. So, as it stands right now. So we are going to need to do something with actually kind of rebooting the screen, I think. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit more to the UI. So I've got my UI. I'm going to create a UI panel, right? Because I need to have a way to kind of restart this level. So let's see. I'm going to create a game over screen. Yeah. So I'll go to create a UI panel. All right, so UI panel, and I'm going to name this one Game Over, right? And I think I'm going to change this to dark, yeah, kind of like black. So just a simple Game Over. That's why I have that one text thing in here. So I've got my Game Over panel. Game Over panel, and then with my Game Over panel, I'm going to. Hmm, Actually, I might just leave this one as panel. And then, actually, I think I'm going to drag my panel into an empty movie script, or I'm jumping between animate and Unity. So I'll create empty first, and then I'll name this Game Over. Game Over. All right. So that'll be named Game Over, and then I'll drop my panel into here, I think. Yeah. Okay, so I got my panel. I've got this set up here, and now I need to create an image. So I'm going to create a UI image. UI image, and it's going to stick itself right in the middle of this motherfucker. All right, so got my UI image. With my source image, I'm going to go ahead and click this because I've already copied some text up in here. And yeah, so if you'll notice though, when I click this, my text seems a little bit squashed, doesn't it? So in order to fix that, I'm going to just click set to native, and then it gets really, 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 really freaking big. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to enter, make sure that it's centered, and I'm just going to shrink it down like so to where it fits on the screen. Okay. So this will be our quick little game over screen, and I'm not going to add any buttons or anything because I'm getting kind of tired. So we're just going to do a script with this one. So with this script, basically when the player dies, he can just hit R to reset. All right. So in order to get that working, what I'll need to do is go. Where do I have to go? I've got this. Oh, so I'll need to go to my. Let me check my notes again. Yeah, when I start getting cold and hungry, it's almost game over. So, all right. So yeah, let me go ahead and add that to my game over panel, or my game over, I think. So I'll add this component. So I'll add a new script, and this will be like reset. Reset level. Yeah, so I'll just do a simple level reset. Yeah, that was my oldest son coming home. So for this reset level script, I'll make it a little bit easy, I think. So where are my notes on this one? Coin, damage, object rotation. So I keep my notes on my iPad because I tend to forget a lot of shit. Okay, so hold on. Yeah, we'll go to the reset level. For this one, I'm going to need a reference to the scene manager. So using Unity engine, and this will be using scene management. Yeah. So without this, a lot of the scene transitions and stuff won't work. All right, and then the way I'm going to do this scene transition, I think, will be using like a hmm, using a simple coroutine. Do I want to use a coroutine? I'm trying to think of where I want to call this from. So I'm gonna need this script, but I'm trying to think of where I want to call it. I think I might call it on the player controller. So I've got the script here, but I'm gonna call it on the player controller when the player dies. So for this, I will need to create a few more variables. So I've got float light time. I've got let's see, what else do I need? Level reset panel transitions. So so I'll need a public game object. And that'll be like a level reset panel, which is basically the UI panel that we just created. Then I will need I don't think I want to have a transition for this one. Public string, and this will be like scene name. Okay, so let's see, public scene name. I think for start, I'm going to leave score at 0 because I don't have to mess with that one. But for this one, I'm going to need to set the level reset panel. Will be set active, and that will be false in the beginning. So, basically that'll turn this panel off to where nobody can see it, and then when the player dies, it should pop back on, which is what I'm going to add right here. So, like level reset panel, level not day. Okay, so that was the story game object, and then level reset panel will be dot set active, and that will be true. Okay, and then like what else do I need? Yeah. So what I can do here after I've saved this, I can go back to Unity, and I can go ahead and switch this game over panel to off. Right. So well, not to off, but I can just go ahead and like kind of turn it off here, right? So this is on, this is off. So now, like what I would need to do in the level reset script is I will need to add a quick, where is that object rotation? Actually, I forgot what my level reset script should say. I know I need the scene transition, but I'm getting sleepy and hungry and I'm cold. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump off of this because I noticed that we started rice, but we haven't actually started cooking the actual food. And it's like my second son just got home, so he should be hungry. He just finished track and field, so I'm gonna go ahead and log off of this and actually cook dinner. I thought dinner was gonna be cooked for me, but I'm gonna have to do it today. So I'll go ahead and log off, and I'll jump on with you guys later. But this is what our game looks like so far. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this, and I will continue with this series later on today. All right, so let me go ahead and switch over to here.